do you think that it's necessary to introduce our panelists?
Do we know them? Yes.
Yeah.
They're well known. But why do we call it frankly speaking?
This is a difficult question, and I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to address questions, so let it for later. Yeah, is it wonderful? Yeah, it's no need to introduce our panelists, but I would like to say just a few words about President Francesco. Because President Francesco is quite unique in the history of Rotary, as he prepared for his term in only 2 weeks. I remember that he was there with staff members and other Rotary leaders preparing, and I was asking, how is President Francesco doing? They said, he's doing excellent. He's doing excellent. He had 2 sessions of 2 hours each. Now he has an interview for the Rotary magazine. They will be back again. And then he has a photo session for Rotary. And he did it excellently. The Rotary year began. He started his visits on all the continents, in Asia, South America, Europe, and so on, participates in institutes. He's doing a great job. And just for warming up, but my first question is for the General Secretary, John Hyoko. So, based on this successful experience, could Rotary International consider to elect the Rotary International presidents just 3 weeks before the and prepare them in 2 weeks, because it proved to be effective and it will save a lot of money for Rotary. No.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for that very easy question. I think the way the Rotary cycle works and the way in which our events are structured, I think that would be a bad move. Yes, we would save some money, but I think, as Francesco can attest, there's so much to be done in preparation for one's year to be president. Gordon, I think, would echo that as well. Obviously, we have the International Assembly, which is in January before our president assumes his or her role. And we really need to have a president-elect to be able to address and work with the governor-elects. Similarly, the PELs and the GELs and all of the various trainings for the president-elects and for the governor-elects, events that the president-elect obviously attends in order to work with and inspire those who will be club presidents and governors during the president's year. So no, I think that would be a terrible idea. We would save some money, sure, but I mean the amount of effort and work, and it's really a testament to Francesco, his flexibility and ability to really. And I was obviously there in Evanston, working with Francesco and the rest of the team to get him ready. There's a lot to be done to get ready for the presidential year. So no, that would be a bad idea.
Thank you for
now,
honesty.
if we're talking about the president nominee, that's a different conversation. And again, there's pros and cons there. But if we really were interested in cutting costs, that perhaps might be something that we might be able to look at the nominee. But the elect, no. I think the way we have it now is the way we need to have it, given how Rotary operates.
Thank you so much. So good news for the future candidates. So Susan, do you have any other questions for our panelists?
Yes, we do. And nothing beats the fact that meeting Rotarians in real life is just such a joy. It just beats everything. And as we are about to close now this historic event here at Fusion, we also have a chance to go to conventions. And conventions are a great place to be. And we will go to Taipei the next year, and then Dubai was selected for 2027. Now, given that we have talked a lot about values, this Fusion How does that address the values that we have in going to Dubai? So I'm going to ask that to our president, Francesco.
This is a more difficult question. Yes, Dubai was chosen as a draft for the next convention, and in the board there was a very deep conversation and discussion about this choice. And I have to say that, in my opinion, it was a good choice. A good choice because it is something of new, and we have to always to look for new solutions. The problem that was raised by many people was the problem of human rights in Dubai. If the human rights are respected in that region and in that city, and if for all of our members is allowed to be free to go and to stay safe and comfortable. It is true that in the past years in Dubai there were problems, but it is the city and the state in the Middle East that did the most important evolution in this sense. And many things have changed in Dubai. We had a committee of several persons from the staff and from the volunteers that went to Dubai to check the situation. And the result was really very good. They spoke with the authorities, but also with the independent authorities. For example, spoke with the embassy of several Western countries in Dubai, and they assured that the situation in Dubai for the human rights is improving day by day, and is good enough today to have a convention there. This is in my opinion also a push to the city, to the state, to improve more and more the situation. So they are growing a lot, and we have to respect they are growing and to help them to grow more. And we spoke also, not me, the committee spoke also with some members of the LGBT community in Dubai, and they have an association there. They live there, and they said that they can live there without many problems. And then there is another reason, in my opinion, that is very good to go to Dubai. To go to Dubai is very easy for many countries that usually have a big difficulty to go to the conventions, because the visa is always a problem. And many people from some countries like India, like from Africa, from India, from South America, for them is always difficult to participate. In Dubai it will be much easier for them. So is a place that is inclusive for many of our members around the world. So all these reasons, in my opinion, are a good reason to have a convention in Dubai. And I don't think that we will have problems. But if we eventually have a problem, the good thing is that it's not my problem, but a problem of India.
For a difficult question, Francesco, you made an excellent choice there. Unite for good in Dubai.
Right. Very good answer. What can I say? Now, I remember that about 2 or 3 years ago, I was in the audience. It was a panel moderated by past president Ravi Ravindran and President Gordon at the time, and General Secretary John Hugo, and I think Vice President Nikki Scott. I don't know if she is in the room now. We're in the panel, and at some point, past President Ravi, the moderator, turned to past President Gordon and said, Gordon was the president at the time, at the end of the day, who is leading Rotary International? It's you or the General Secretary? So this was the question, and I was very curious to find out. And then Gordon and the General Secretary John provided long, very diplomatic answers. But when they concluded, nobody in the room really understood. We will do it one more time, this time with President Francesco, because he was inducted only for 2 weeks, so I can tell the truth, and with the General Secretary John. And may I invite first the General Secretary to answer, because the President must have the last word. John?
I think that last comment, it demonstrates the answer to the question, right? I think Gordon and I kept it purposely vague because that's exactly the answer we wanted to leave it with. No, but I think each position has its own clearly defined role. Obviously, the President and General Secretary work extremely closely together, and it's great working with Gordon and Francesco. My job is to manage the professional staff, to ensure that the operations of the organization continue in an effective and efficient manner, to support the President, to support the volunteer leadership, to support the board and the trustees and the coordinators and the district and the district governor. So I think the roles are fairly well defined. Right. Obviously, the cooperation between the President and the Secretary and General Secretary is extremely important. But no, I don't think there's any confusion as to who's the President, the top figure in Rotary, and I'll let Francesco speak to what he views the presidential role as being. But I think it's a good system. I think it serves the organization well, and it's not a question of who's running the organization. It's a question of who is carrying out what function to ensure that the organization operates effectively and efficiently moving forward.
Well, I have a bad news for you, John. You are not the most important person. But what I discovered in this initial 3 months is that the President is not the most important person. I discovered that the President cannot decide anything. I have many bosses on my head. The first is my aide, that decides what I can do and what I am not allowed to do. Then I have Kate Yonan, that decides everything for me, and then I have my wife, of course. I decide almost nothing. And the reality is that the real power in Rotary International, in my opinion, is not on the President or on the General Secretary, but is the board. We decide together, and that is the real room where we can take the decisions. And then everybody does his job. The job of the staff is essential, very important. We cannot work, we cannot exist without the staff, because we need their support, of course. And they are useful. They are not useful, they are useless without the volunteers. they don't have nobody to support without that. So the structure works very well, and the real power is in the hands of the board.
Thank you so much, President Francesco.
Can we ask the audience, is it clear?
Would you like? So, Susan, I think,
Yes, we need to get Gordon.
yeah, Past President Gordon wants to add something.
So,
Yeah, first of all, I would like to apologise for not making myself clearer 2 years ago in Bucharest. But you know, if we're coming down to the question of who is in charge and everything else, Francesco has made the wonderful point that it's the board that is in charge, the board take the decisions. But the fact is, neither the volunteers nor the staff could exist without the other. It's very much a complementary relationship. We have a wonderful institutional knowledge in our staff at Rotary. Some of our staff at Rotary have been there for many years. Some of them have been there longer than John. The fact of the matter is they bring a professionalism and they bring an institutional knowledge that many of the volunteers don't have. And even if you come in on the normal cycle of things, you need to be able to tap into that institutional knowledge. And I'm sure Francesco is really having to tap into that knowledge coming in with the notice he had. So neither could work on their own, neither could lead Rotary on their own. We have to work together. Francesco and I are both dentists. We both work with chairside assistants. And the future is in dentistry, but apart from that, if we did not have a chairside assistant to assist us, we couldn't do our job. The chairside assistant couldn't do their job without the dentist. So it has to be that complementary relationship. And that's what we are so fortunate to have. And believe me, we have an extremely professional and competent staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
you have practiced now, so that was a very good answer this time, when you got a chance to answer. So, Daniel, I have a very worried family member, and he has a question. His name is Benny, so Göran, you can hold him up. So, he is worried he's going to get out of the job moving forward. And Annette needs to knit some new clothes for Benny. So my question to you, Gordon, when we end polio, what should Annette knit?
Well, I wish I had $1 for the foundation for every time I've been asked the question, what will we be doing after we do polio? The fact is, at the moment, we have to remain laser focused on eradicating polio. Until polio is eradicated in the world, we must not begin to talk about what we might or might not do next. What we are doing is already beginning to talk about how we might find something to follow polio. It may well be that we decide to take a pause after polio and not have a corporate project for a period, just to allow us all to re-energise and to regain strength and to decide exactly what we want to do. But at the moment, we mustn't think about or start talking about what's the next corporate project, because we have a corporate project. That corporate project is the eradication of polio, and it is 100% essential that we keep our, to use a rugby parlance, keep our eye on that ball to make sure that we get rid of polio before we start talking about anything else. There are many things on a personal level I would love to see us get involved with. But it's not about talking about that just now, it's about getting sure and talking about how we can finally rid the world of polio.
Benny is happy and he is ready for the gala because Annette has knitted him a suit to wear at the gala when we celebrate.
Thank you, Susan. And some of the Rotarians asked me about something, and actually this question would be better to be addressed to past President Gordon, who is a trustee now. So in the past it was very attractive for the clubs, for the Rotarians districts to donate to the annual fund, because 100% of their DDF was matched, and additionally 50% of the cash club contributions was matched by the Rotary Foundation. So the question is, when do you think the Rotary Foundation is going to restore the initial matching ratios for global grants?
Well, again, that's not the first time I or many other trustees have been asked that question. You all know I'm from Scotland. I know it doesn't sound as if I'm from Scotland, but I am in fact from Scotland. You all know that the Scots are very careful with their money, and you all know that it's essential to balance your budget. And one of the challenges the trustees had, and I was not a trustee at the time, it's not that I would have disagreed with the decision, but one of the challenges the trustees had at the time they altered the percentage match was that they were running out of money on an annual basis. And so it was not possible to fund every global grant request that came in. And so they took that difficult decision, and it was a difficult decision to move from 100% funding. And they would dearly love to restore it tomorrow. But of course, until we can build up the funds to ensure that we can meet the requests that are coming in, it's not possible to go back to that immediately. And so, in simple terms, the answer to how soon can we do it, how soon can people give more to the foundation to ensure we have the funding to allow us to do it. And if we can make sure we build up the foundation donations, then we can begin to look back to increasing that particular percentage again. But it wasn't an easy decision for them to take. As I say, I was not a trustee at that time, but I know many people who were trustees, and it was not an easy decision to take. But at the end of the day, we have to balance the budget. We have to make sure that we don't spend more than we have. We wouldn't do that in our businesses. We wouldn't do that in with our personal finances. And so we can't do that with the Rotary Foundation finances. But it would be great if we can. If we can get more donations, then we can ensure that eventually that may well be reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Gordon. And Susan, do we have a final question for our panelists?
Yes, let's be a little bit visionary at the end, to all of you. So I've heard about a club in Spain, they meet as avatars in metaverse, a Rotary club. So I'm thinking, how do you vision a Rotary 2.0 in 25 years from now? That's an easy question.
My dream, you need always to have a dream. My dream is that in 2050 we have the problem in the world how to spend the money that we obtain by the Nobel Prize for the eradication of polio. And this is my dream, and I think that when we have a dream, we have to work, because the dream can become a reality. And this is my vision for the future.
So, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I would like us to see a situation where Rotary is existing everywhere in a style to suit everyone that wants to be part of us. In other words, we need to be ensuring that we meet our potential members rather than trying to force them to join a model of Rotary that perhaps they don't desire. So we need to have the new styles of Rotary clubs that are springing up. We need to have cause-based clubs. We need to have clubs that meet in the metaverse as avatars. It'd be interesting to see how that progresses. But we need to have all sorts of clubs. And we also need the traditional clubs, because there are some traditional clubs that are successful. And if we have a successful club model, why would we want to change it? But we have to make sure that we exist everywhere in a style to suit everyone that wants to become part of us.
I just would like to echo with what Gordon just said. I very much hope that over the next 25 years We have the ability to be flexible enough to be able to adapt to the changing circumstances. And a big part of that answer is, as Gordon just said, is really aggressively pursuing different and more varied avenues to participate in our organization. Clubs in the Metaverse one. There was a club that was formed, I understand, in India, where people had, in Mumbai, long commutes into work. So they organized a club where they would meet on the train going into work. Now that club wound up folding, but I give them credit for thinking out of the box and thinking of new ways. So I think our future really depends on adaptability, flexibility, and a willingness to change and to meet the market where the market is, because the market's not going to come to us. We need to meet the market where it is. That's sort of one area. And let me just perhaps throw out a controversial thought here as we think about Rotary 2.0. Perhaps we should also consider setting up a subsidiary organization that really starts from scratch. Pretend we're Paul Harris in 1905, but instead in 2027, making up a date. What would a kind of a different Rotary look like? And continue with the traditional Rotary that we've currently had that's been very successful. But think about perhaps setting up a subsidiary organization that achieves our goals, but perhaps in a different way. Sort of start from scratch, begin from scratch, rethink things. I don't know, maybe that's a useless exercise, maybe it's a helpful exercise, but I do think as an organization we really want to think out of the box to try to create a new organization from scratch based on Rotary values, but just in a different form, and see if that allows us and our values to have an even greater impact on the world over the next 100 years of our existence.
One final thing, I would like to celebrate my 93rd birthday in 2050 by attending the 13th Fusion Conference, which has been held every 2 years since 2025. So that would be my vision.
So thank you very much for speaking frankly and clear, and we thank you, and let's get back to business.
Thank you very much.